I need to ask you something. How much of your money is sitting in tech right now? Because if you're like most people, you don't actually know. You just know it's good for growth, and everyone's doing it, so it must be smart, right? Here's what I learned the hard way. That thinking cost me $50,000, and it almost cost my friend Derek $55,000. But here's the thing, Derek actually made money. So did I. And that's exactly why this story matters, because making money and still losing is possible, and I'm going to show you exactly how. Derek was smart with money, saved consistently, good income, disciplined. By 2019, he had $80,000 saved. One day he asked me, "Where should I put this?" I told him the boring answer. S&P 500, diversified, low fees, hold for 20 years. But Derek had been reading online, Reddit, Twitter, financial blogs, and everyone was saying the same thing. Tech is the future. Get in now. You're going to regret waiting. So he asked me again, but what about VGT? Everyone's buying it. And here's where I made my mistake. I didn't say no. I said, that's up to you, which is the same as yes. Derek put all $80,000 into VGT, every penny. I watched it happen, and I felt something I didn't want to admit. I felt stupid for recommending boring stuff. So in early 2021, I did the same thing. $50,000 into VGT, all in. I told myself, you know better, you understand the risk. I didn't. 2019 to 2021 was amazing. Derek's $80,000 turned into $140,000. 140,000. He texts me screenshots. Dude, this is insane. Why are we even talking about bonds? My $50,000 turned into $80,000. I was a genius. We both were. And that feeling of being right when everyone else is wrong, that's dangerous because it makes you think you're smarter than you are. Derek called me in December 2021. He was thinking about buying more. If 80,000 turned into 140,000, imagine if I'd put 150K in. He was serious. I told him no. I said, "You've done great. Lock in the win." He didn't listen. He bought more. January 2022. VGT started sliding. Derek didn't panic. This is normal. Pullbacks happen. February 2022. Down 20%. Derek's 150K investment was now 120K. He texted me, "Still good long term." March 2022. Down 35%. Derek's entire position was now $97,000 total. He'd lost $53,000 in 90 days. April 2022. He didn't text me. I called him. He didn't answer. 2 weeks went by. When he finally called back, I knew something was wrong. His voice was different, quiet, shaky. He said, "I think I'm going to lose everything." Derek, you're not. VGT isn't going to zero. But what if it keeps dropping? What if I sell now and miss the recovery? What if I hold and it drops more? That's the moment I realized this isn't about VGT anymore. This is about psychology, and Derek's psychology was broken. Here's what happened in that moment. Derek had made a logical mistake turned into an emotional crisis. His brain was screaming, "Sell, get out, stop the pain." But his logic was saying, if you sell now, you lock in the loss. So he was frozen, checking his phone every 30 minutes, checking his portfolio every morning, losing sleep, losing focus at work. His girlfriend asked him what was wrong. He didn't tell her because he was too embarrassed. "I lost 55K in 3 months and there's nothing I can do." That's what concentration risk really does. It doesn't just lose you money, it steals your peace. I called Derek in May and told him something I wasn't sure about. Don't sell. I know you want to, but if you sell now, you'll regret it. He said, "How do you know?" I said, "I don't, but I know that selling at the bottom always feels right in the moment, and it's always wrong." He didn't sell. By 2023, VGT started recovering. Derek's 97,000 climbed back up, 110,000, 130,000, 150,000. By 2024, his original investment was worth $165K. He made money, real money. I asked him, "How do you feel?" He said, "Relieved, but also angry." Angry at what? Angry that I had to suffer that much for it. The returns were good, but the journey was hell. Then he told me something I'll never forget. If I could go back, I'd do it differently. Not because the returns were bad, but because I wouldn't want to feel like that again. Even knowing I'd make money, I wouldn't do it. That's the lesson. Not tech bad, not VGT bad, but concentration bad, and psychology greater returns. Now, you're probably wondering what happened to me. During 2022, my $50,000 VGT position was down to $30,000. I panicked too. But here's the difference. I only had $50K in VGT. I had another $200K in boring stuff, S&P 500, bonds, cash. So when VGT dropped 40%, my total portfolio dropped 8%. My brain could handle that. I didn't panic. I slept fine. Derek panicked because his entire $150,000 was on the line. I didn't panic because only $50,000 was on the line. Same investment, different outcome, different emotion. That's the whole lesson right there. By 2024, my VGT position is worth $81K. Not as good as the peak, but solid. And I'm fine with it. Here's my actual allocation right now. 65% S&P 500, VOO, 130K. 20% VGT, 40K. 10% bonds, BND, 20K. 5% cash, 10K. Total, 200K. That 20% VGT is my growth bet. It's the part that can feel scary. When it drops 40%, I feel it, but I don't freak out because I sized it right. So here's what you should actually do. If you're under 40 and have 20 plus years until retirement, buy VGT, but size it at 15% of your portfolio. The other 85% goes into 60% VOO, Vanguard S&P 500, 15% BND, Vanguard Total Bond, 10% VTI, Vanguard Total Market. Why this allocation? Because a 40% drop in VGT is only a 6% drop to your total portfolio. Your brain can handle 6%. It panics at 40%. If you're 40 to 55, buy VGT at 10%. The other 90%, 50% VOO, 25% BND, 15% VTI. A 40% drop in VGT becomes a 4% drop overall. Manageable. You stay invested. You don't panic. If you're 55 plus or you can't stomach losses, skip VGT entirely. Seriously. Buy 50% VOO, 30% BND, 20% VTI. Is it boring? Yes. Will you beat the tech bros who own 100% VGT in good years? No. Will you sleep at night? Yes. And that's worth everything. If you already panic when markets drop 10%, don't own VGT at all. You're just going to sell at the bottom. You'll turn a temporary loss into a permanent one. Better to own boring stuff and actually hold it. Let me show you exactly why sizing matters. Scenario 1. Derek's mistake, 100% VGT. Initial investment, 150K VGT drops 40%. Result, 90K loss, 60K. Emotional impact, suicidal. Checking phone every hour, can't sleep. Scenario 2. Smart sizing, 15% VGT, 85% VOO. Initial investment, $150,000. VGT drops 40%. VOO drops 15%. Market correction. VGT, 150,000 times 15% equals $22.5K, down to $13.5K. Loss, $9K. VOO times 150K% equals $127.5K, down to $108.4K. Loss, $19.1K. Total portfolio, 150K times 121.9K. Total loss, 28.1K. Emotional impact, okay, market is down, I'll just hold. Same 150,000 investment, same market environment. One person loses 60,000 and panics. The other loses 28,000 and sleeps fine. That's the power of sizing. Now, some of you are thinking, but Derek made money. Didn't the all-in bet work out? Yes, it did. He turned 150,000 into 165K. That's real. But ask yourself this question. Was Derek winning because he was smart or because he got lucky? If he was smart, he should be able to repeat it. But he can't. He told me, I wouldn't do that again. Not ever. That's not confidence. That's trauma. Here's what actually happened. Derek made a bet on tech. Tech happened to go down after his bet, but then tech recovered. Derek benefited from the recovery. But what if tech didn't recover? What if we entered a 10-year period where tech underperformed? Then Derek would still be panicked, still checking his phone, still unable to sleep. And he would have locked in the loss. You can't count on getting lucky. You can only count on not panicking. And you can't count on not panicking if you size your bet wrong. I know what's going to happen. Some of you will watch this video. You'll think, that makes sense. 15% VGT, smart. And then you'll close YouTube. And then you'll think about how VGT has crushed the market historically. You'll think about your friends who went all in on tech. You'll think about how boring 15% sounds. And you'll buy 50% VGT instead, or maybe 100%. And you'll tell yourself, I'm different, I can handle it. Statistically, you can. Here's what's going to happen. Year 1, VGT goes up 25%. You feel like a genius. Year 2, VGT drops 20%. You still feel fine. This is normal. Year 3, VGT drops another 30%. Now you're panicking. And you're going to check this video again. You're going to remember Derek's story, and you're going to realize you didn't listen. I'm not saying this to shame you. I'm saying this because I did it. Derek did it. And statistically, most of you will do it too. So here's my advice if that happens. Don't panic sell. Instead, do this. Maybe you're reading this right now and you're already in Derek's situation. You bought VGT, it's down 25%. You're panicking. You're thinking about selling. Checking the price every day doesn't help. It just makes you feel worse. Step 2. Buy the boring stuff. Take your next paycheck. Instead of waiting for VGT to recover, buy VOO, buy BND, buy VTI. Rebalance your portfolio. So if you have $100,000 in VGT, now worth $75K, $50,000 in other stuff, total $125K. You want to get to 15% VGT. $125,000 times 15% equals $18,750 in VGT. You currently have $75K, so you've got way too much. Still too much. With your next paycheck, buy another $50,000 in VOO. Your portfolio is now $75K VGT, $150,000 VOO, total $225K. Now VGT is 33% of your portfolio. Better, but still too much. Keep buying boring stuff with every paycheck. Over 6 to 12 months, you'll rebalance without selling at the bottom. You'll fix the problem, and you won't lock in the loss. This is called dollar cost averaging out of your mistake. It works. It's not glamorous, but it works. You know what the difference is between successful investors and broke investors? It's not picking the right fund. It's not having the hottest stocks. It's staying in the game. People who get rich with stocks don't get rich because they picked winners. They get rich because they didn't panic and sell losers. That's it. Boring allocation. Held for 30 years. $10 million. Hot allocation. Panic sold at the bottom. $2 million. Same starting amount. Same market environment. Different outcome. Because one person had a plan and stuck to it. The other person didn't. Here's something most financial advice misses. The best investment isn't the one with the highest returns. It's the one you can actually hold. If you can't sleep at night because your portfolio is down 20%, then your allocation is wrong. Not morally wrong, strategically wrong. Because you'll panic, and when you panic, you lose. Here's the math on panic. Panic sellers miss the recovery. The market drops 30%. You panic and sell. It recovers 40%. You miss that 40% recovery. That costs you thousands, maybe tens of thousands. So here's the question. Is it worth owning 50% VGT if you're going to panic sell and miss the recovery? No, it's better to own 15% VGT and sleep fine and hold forever. Because 15% held forever beats 50% panic sold at the bottom every single time. Objection 1, but VGT has historically crushed the S&P 500. True, over the last 15 years, VGT has beaten the S&P 500. But here's the thing, past performance doesn't predict future results, and even if it did, you only benefit if you hold. Derek held VGT. He made money, but the journey was so painful that he said he'd never do it again. Is a slightly higher return worth the psychological torture? For most people, no. Objection 2. I'm young, so I can take the risk. Being young doesn't mean you can't panic. Derek was young. He panicked. Risk tolerance isn't age, it's psychology. Some 25-year-olds can handle 100% VGT. Some 55-year-olds can too. Most people in both groups can't. Don't assume you're the exception. Objection 3. Diversification means I'll underperform. Maybe, or maybe not. Here's what's true. In the years when tech wins, you'll underperform, but in the years when tech loses, you'll outperform. Over a full market cycle, diversification usually wins, or at least it doesn't lose much, and the psychological benefit is huge. Objection 4. Your allocation is too boring. You're right, 65 over 20 on 10 is boring. But you know what's more boring? Panic selling at the bottom and missing the recovery. You know what's even more boring? Actually getting rich slowly instead of getting poor quickly. Boring wins. I call this the Derek principle. It's simple. Size your bets so that losses don't destroy your psychology. Derek failed the principle. He sized at 100%. His psychology broke. He almost sold at the bottom. I passed the principle. I sized at 25% of my portfolio. My psychology held. I didn't panic. The question for you is, will you size right or will you repeat Derek's mistake? Let me make this so simple you can't mess it up. Under 40 years old, 60% VOO, S&P 500, 15% VGT, tech, 15% VTI, total market, 10% BND, bonds. Ticker symbols you can buy right now. Go to Vanguard or Fidelity. 40 to 55 years old, 50% VOO, 10% VGT, 20% VTI, 20% BND. 55 plus years old, 40% VOO, 0% VGT, 20% VTI, 40% BND. Can't handle losses at all. 50% VOO, 0% VGT, 20% VTI, 30% BND. Print this, screenshot it, paste it into your portfolio. You're done. You've now set yourself up to beat 85% of investors, not because you picked the right fund, but because you sized it right, and you'll stick with it. Here's what I've learned. Money isn't about being smart. It's about being consistent. Derek was smart, but he wasn't consistent. He panicked. I was consistent. I didn't panic, and that's the only reason I made money. VGT is fine. Tech is the future. Concentration can work. But for normal people, consistency beats intelligence every single time. So build a plan that normal you can follow, not brilliant you, not confident you, panicked you. Can panicked you hold this allocation? If yes, then it's right. If no, then it's wrong. Make that change. Here's what I want you to do. Step 1. Write down your current allocation. I have X in VGT, Y in S&P 500, etc. Step 2. Calculate your VGT percentage. If it's more than 20%, you're overweight. If it's more than 30%, you're too concentrated. Step 3. Decide your target allocation based on your age. Step 4. Over the next 3 to 6 months, rebalance. Don't sell VGT. Buy the boring stuff until you hit your target. Step 5. Set it and forget it. Don't check every day. Check once a quarter. Step 6. In 20 years, you'll be rich. Not because you picked the right fund, but because you didn't panic. That's it. That's the whole system. Derek texts me sometimes, just to check in. Last week he said, I'm at 65% VOO, 20% VGT, 10% bonds now. I stole your allocation. I told him, good, steal it. He said, the crazy thing is, I'm making almost as much money as when I had 100% VGT, but I'm sleeping 10x better. That's the Derek principle in action. Same wealth potential, better psychology, better life. That's what I want for you. Not to be the richest person in the graveyard, but to be rich and happy, rich and sleeping well, rich and not checking your phone at 3 a.m. Build the allocation that lets you do that, then hold it for 20 years, and that's how you win.